Hello, students, and welcome to a quick overview of the ancient civilizations. And today we're going to take a look at Egypt, Mesopotamia, ancient China, and ancient India. You can use this for your spice charts if you like, and just to give you a little bit of a head start, but you'll have to add specific information to your chart. So again, we're looking at comparing the geography, economics, political structure, society, and culture of the ancient civilizations to identify the patterns of civilizations that exist. And so first we'll look at Mesopotamia, and we'll take a look at the geography of the region. And we find the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. And this is known as the Fertile Crescent. The people who lived there long ago were forced to create a system to control the flooding in that region because the flooding was unpredictable. The region was also very difficult to defend because it was open from the north, the west, and the east to other invading civilizations. The economic structure of Mesopotamia was agriculturally based. They grew grains like millet and wheat. They had a currency. They kept records. Their economic records were very impressive. They had specialized labor. There was private enterprise, meaning that people owned their own businesses. And then societally speaking, it was a stratified society. That meant that there were kings and priests and military personnel and artisans and craftspeople, scribes, farmers, and slaves. So it was a real social pyramid. Women in Mesopotamia had very few rights. And as for culture, religion, rituals, and ceremonies, we know that they practiced a religion that was polytheistic in nature. We know that they also had complex religious rituals, and they built religious buildings that they called ziggurats. The religion itself was actually very complex, and it was sort of on the dark side, and showed that perhaps there were shadowy afterlife perceptions, like it wasn't a very good thing to die. Maybe it was more dark than heaven, right? Art and architecture were important, as we know that these civilizations, especially of Babylon, had very impressive architecture. They had a calendar, they had written laws, they had math concepts, and they had the division of the day into 24 hours per day. And the Sumerians in Mesopotamia were believed to be the first civilization. The political structure is very important for us to understand because these were independent city-states that were ruled by a governor. There was not a huge empire, and they were not united. There were urban centers and villages within each city-state. There was a hierarchy of power within each city-state, and the written laws, the most important being the Code of Hammurabi. There were defined borders for these city-states, so that's what made them actual city-states. And again, this region was very difficult to defend because of its openness, and these people were under constant attack. We'll move on to Egypt, and this is the Nile River Valley, and we're going to talk about the geography of the Nile. The Nile River Valley is the fertile river valley, and it's a really small strip of land that falls along the Nile River itself. There are deserts to the east and to the west and the south that gave protection to the Nile River Valley. The beautiful thing about the Nile River Valley is that the flooding was predictable, and the flooding left a very fertile silt that on the land that actually helped to maintain the fertility of the region. The Nile flows from south to north, and this aided trade with the Mediterranean civilizations and Kush. And that's why we find that Upper Egypt is considered south and Lower Egypt is considered north. And that has to do with the source of the river and the mouth of the river. The economic structure of the Nile River Valley was, of course, agricultural. They grew wheat and flax. Flax is a plant that we make into linen. They had a highly developed textile industry. The government had control over the economy, and trade connected. They were connected by trade via the Nile River. There was a large stratified society where we have the pharaoh, the priest, the scribes, the artisans, farmers, and slaves. And since this was a monarchy, the pharaoh owned and controlled all economic structures and land. Culture and religion in the Nile River Valley. The pharaoh was considered godlike, and the Nile River Valley people practiced polytheistic religious beliefs. Art and architecture, we know that they built huge structures, especially the Great Pyramids. And again, polytheistic in their religious beliefs. They wrote in hieroglyphics. And of course, their afterlife was they mummified with the hopes that this would continue life after death. The political structure was the fact that there were these two empires that were united, and that created really the world's first empire that was ruled by a pharaoh. And it was a monarchy and a dynastic structure. In China, we're going to look at the geography of China, and we find these civilizations along the Huanghe and the Changjiang rivers. And China was isolated from invasion and other civilizations. There was fertile land along the river valleys, but they also experienced unpredictable flooding along the river plains areas. Only 10% of the land in China is even arable. That means that you can grow crops on it. Most of it is covered by desert or by mountains. Terraces were created by the farmers to increase the amount of farmland. And the crops that they grew were wheat and millet in the north and rice in the south. The three geographic regions of China are called Outer China, North China, and South China. The economic structure of China was such that it was agriculturally based, again with wheat growing in the north and rice growing in the south. And eventually the Chinese created two crops per year, and they also grew soybeans. Silk production was the most important manufacturing that China had. It was the best kept secret, and they were the only ones who possessed this manufacturing, and so it was highly valued outside of China. They also had a highly developed intrastate, that's trade within the empire system. And then they had interstate trade, international trade along the Silk Road trade route, which went across the outer regions of China. The Chinese also had coined money and paper money. And they traded with foreign nations in only gold and silver. So if you wanted to trade with the Chinese, you had to have gold or silver. In the societal structure of China, we see a stratified society: the emperor, the government officials, scholars, merchants, landless peasants, and farmers. The practice was a philosophy called Confucianism, and that's what they used to govern their society and create social stability. It was a male-dominated society, and Confucianism is based on 5 different relationships. The Chinese practiced ancestor veneration, which is really the respect for dead relatives. Women really had no legal or political rights. The cultural aspects of China, they practiced music, astronomy, they created the compass, the ship's rudder, coins, calligraphy as an art form. They had a written language, a calendar, they created the seismograph, they coined money, they had playing cards. You can see that they were a highly developed society. Their inventions included, were always of a practical nature and were basically associated with the technological needs of the societies. The political structures, again, it's a monarchy with the emperor as the center of the universe. It was a dynastic structure, which means that it was an inherited position, and they had the mandate of heaven. The bureaucracy was the way that they administered their government. It was invented by the Chinese, and they organized their government structure from the village level to the emperor. There was an aristocracy. The nobility had the most power because they owned the land. And peasants paid the taxes and did the work, and they possessed few political rights.